What's going on, guys? Quinn69 here. How you guys doing? Today I'm going to be bringing you guys a guide on the dual wield raiment monk. This is specifically for greater rifts, and I'm just making it because you guys keep demanding me to make a guide for the setup. You know, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different to the the flying dragon raiment monk, but it's not necessarily better. Just this, if you guys, because you guys are all going to ask that, you're all going to ask, is this build better than the dashing strike flying dragon monk? And I can't answer that. This monk can handle like a lot more rifts, and it can consistently clear rifts, you know, more often than the other build. But at the same time, it can't one-shot rift guardians with channeling power like the other flying dragon monk can to a certain extent. So you can say this build is more consistent, but it has slightly less reach than the other build. So I don't know. I don't know if that's worse or it's better. It's just got a lot more survivability, and you can just clear rifts. Well, you can. It's not, the survivability is kind of mediocre, but you can, if you get the right mob types, it's pretty hard to die. It's pretty hard to die. And why you ask? Why is it hard to die? I mean, if you look at my bars, I'm not using mantra, and you're wondering what the hell's going on? How's he surviving with that mantra? It's literally blinding flash. Because we're dual wielding, we're able to get 10 CDR on each of our weapons. While maintaining healing stats, and this basically allows us to stack enough cooldown reduction to permanently blind mobs. It doesn't sound like really that big of a deal, but it is when you get maps with heavy melee density. If you get maps which have hardly any range, and the majority of it is melee, and when obviously you cannot permanently blind, you know, yellows or blues, but you can permanently blind the trash. And if it's blinded, then it can't hit you, and you can't really die. So all you do with this build is you run around, you find trash, you kill it, you spawn the guardian, and you kill the guardian. Really, it's quite simple, but it gets the job done. Also, because we're stacking so much cooldown reduction, as you can see there, the Breath of Heaven has literally overlap. It's 100% uptime. You always have the Breath of Heaven buff, so you're always generating a lot of spirit. On top of that, your Desert Shroud, your Epiphany, so your 50% damage reduction, only has about 2 seconds downtime. So, you know, the majority of the time you're taking 50% less damage. And then on top of that, you also have the 50% reduction from the Inner Sanctuary, because that literally has like a 2 or 3 second overlap. It's got crazy overlap. You always, if you're not standing in Inner Sanctuary, then you're basically doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. And yeah, that's pretty much how the build functions. And then once you've kind of cleared the rift, you just look for a certain boss. He's called Stone Slinger. Don't know if you guys have heard of him before. This is the guy. The reason we're looking for Stone Slinger, or not just Stone Slinger, he's the best boss to get. But we're using an offhand. I mean, we're using a one-handed weapon called Pig Sticker, and it makes us do 30% more multiplicative damage to beasts and humanoids. And there's a few bosses in this game which are beasts and humanoids. And obviously one of the best bosses is Stone Slinger, because Stone Slinger has, well, Stone Singer, should I say. I'm going to enrage everyone in chat is going to be going ham. But yeah, he takes 30% more damage, and as you can see here, he absolutely just gets destroyed. Like, I mean destroyed. I mean, I have got a power pylon on or whatever, but I mean, he gets bloody wrecked. That debuff also applies to Aginox. He's a beast. The Rat King, so a Hamlin or whatever the hell he's called. The guy summons rats, so he takes 30% more damage. And Zoltan Kuli, he's technically a humanoid, or a human, so you do 30% more damage to him as well. But anyway, let's quickly show you guys the gear and the skill set and everything. We'll just quickly go over the runes so you guys can see it. So we're using Fist of Thunder Quickening, really overpowered rune. It's just extremely consistent. 20 spirit per attack. It doesn't matter about how many enemies you hit or anything. Just gives you a crap ton of spirit back. Yeah, it's really, really overpowered. Just because you generate more spirit, then you can dash more often, and it means you do more damage. Really simple. Inner Sanctuary, Forbidden Palace. We've got 100% uptime, so it's always up. So we always take 55% less damage, and enemies always take 30% more damage while they're inside of it. And there's also a snare effect on it, but which we don't really care about. Mainly for the damage reduction, which is really overpowered and huge. Blinding Flash, Faith in the Light. So we've got this up. The majority of the time, the cooldown's around 3 seconds, and the debuff lasts for about 3 seconds on the white mobs. And yeah, you get 29% damage when it's up. So you're constantly getting 29% additive damage, which is not huge, but it is decent for sure. It's not bad at all. You can't complain with that. And then on top of that, I mean, the main reason we're using it is for the blind. On top of that, We've also got Breath of Heaven infused with light, so we've also got 100% uptime. We're trying to obviously benefit from stacking so much cooldown reduction, so we're using a lot of cooldowns to kind of utilize that. And Breath of Heaven infused with light, you know, you gain an additional 14 spirit per attack. So our little quickenings here, you know, they're giving us 34 spirit per attack, which is insane. So like every 2 punches almost, depending on your resource cost reduction, you can do a dash. Really, really powerful. We're using Dashing Strike, Blinding Speed for the 40% dodge. So you know, 40% dodge is obviously really crazy, really powerful. It just means when mobs do get out of blinds and when elites do hit you, you have a chance to dodge. If you watch the video of my latest clear, the 58, you see Stone Slinger, I dodge him so much, and that's all due to Dashing Strike, Blinding Speed, and a little bit of I forgot to mention this secondary effect on Blinding Flash. Enemies recover faster, but suffer a 30% chance to miss with attacks. And these are, you know, they don't add together, but they both work independently, and it's really powerful. So first of all, it'll check your dodge, and if you didn't dodge it, then it'll check to see if you've been missed. It's really quite powerful versus bosses that only have swipe attacks, like Stoneboy. Really good. We're using Epiphany, Desert Shroud, so we're using that for the 50% damage reduction, pure and simple. There's no other rune you can use, just use Desert Shroud. Reduction overpowered. Near-death experience. This is just because the monk itself is insanely fragile. I mean, you can see here I'm running 28 million toughness with no unity. So the monk is insanely fragile. So you can get one-shot by tons of stuff. And we're also using the gem Taeguk, so when you've got your Taeguk stacks and you die, that's a huge setback in damage. And this, I was a little bit critical about this at first. I wasn't sure whether or not. I felt like, you know, what happens if you get the Dream Rift and you don't die at all? You know, then you get to, you know, you basically just wasted a passive. That very rarely happens. You're always going to get value out of this. Well, not always, but the majority of the time you're going to get value out of this. I've never gone back. Since I put it on, I basically become this thing is I even use it with the Flying Dragon setup. I even use it with Flying Dragon now. That's how good I like this. It's really powerful. Also, Seize the Initiative. This is generally up for the majority of the Rift and for the start of the Rift Guardian fight. And depending on what boss you're fighting, if you're fighting like the Rat King, you know Hamlin, he summons rats out the whole time, so you've always got it up on the Rat King sort of thing. So you know, it's really quite a powerful buff. Just 30%, you know, additive attack speed. Like, it's really powerful. It's the best damage multiplier out of all the damage multipliers you can choose from. Basically, that's why we use it. We're also using Beacon Eater, pure and simple. You know, it's a cooldown reduction based build. We need this. You can't run without it. And Harmony, it's like a baseline talent which everyone has to run, in my opinion, to get full value out of their gear. You know, just gives you a crazy amount of toughness. The amount of value is basically adding a extra primary stat to every piece of your gear almost. Really powerful. Would never not take that. Let's go on to the gear. Basically, you want to be using Pig Sticker or any other 5 primary affix weapons. So I've got a few here, just for example. So you want to be using Pig Sticker, this bad boy right here. What it must have is 10 CDR. What it must have is 10 CDR. And then on top of that, you don't want it to have attack speed or 10% damage. You're looking for pure stats. So you're looking for, you know, dexterity, vitality, life on hit, resource cost reduction. You know, you're not looking to buff. Your damage is completely fine with this build, as you're going to be using full damage gems and everything. You don't really use much defense, as everything's blinded. So yeah, you want to be used just a full stat stick. Probably the dream one, I would say. The absolute dream Pig Sticker for the perfect rolls, I would say probably just damage range. So the top one, dexterity. Then instead of vitality, I would say resource cost reduction, then life on hit, and then 10 CDR. But vitality is okay. It's just a slightly more defensive option. Vitality is really good because it allows you to sometimes survive hits that would otherwise one-shot you. AKA versus Stone Slinger, the best boss in the game for you. You know, if you have a bit of Vit, maybe you've got a little bit of time to recover instead of just getting completely globed out of the gate. So yeah, just make sure it doesn't have % damage or % attack speed on it. Otherwise, you're good to go. Then you want to have your main hand. The dream weapon is like any other kind of like 5 primary main hand. So basically, like this is an example here. So you can see how it's got an extra affix on it. Both these weapons. My Imperium Messenger is pretty bad as it's got % damage on it, and then elite damage is not really that good. My Barb is probably a better example. This is no dead stats. We've got 10 CDR, 8 resource cost reduction, a little bit of extra crit damage, dexterity. Or if you want to go full balls to the wall like I am right now, I'm using a Zurath. It does have a chance to freeze the enemies, and pretty much if you've gotten a Zurath, then you're going to want 10 cooldown reduction, 20 cold, and either 1000 dexterity or 10 RCR instead of dexterity. There's an option. It is actually slightly higher elemental elite damage for me to drop the dexterity off my weapon, but it's a very glass cannon setup, and I preferred the extra 1000 armor over that extra bit of damage. But yeah, and then obviously the other weapons that you can use is like a Gift of Solaria, and is just any weapon with 5 primary affixes. Then you're going to be using raiment sets, so raiment boots, raiment pants, raiment chest. Really important to note, you want dashing strike damage on your chest. You need that. Don't go without dashing strike damage on the chest. That's a huge chunk of your damage you're going to be missing if you don't have that. And raiment shoulders. Shoulders, you're going to want a pretty specific role. Obviously on your shoulders you need cooldown reduction, and on top of that, dashing strike damage. They need to have cooldown reduction, and they need to have dashing strike damage, and then you can either have vitality or resource cost reduction. I've gone for a RCR pair here, so a pure damage setup. Resource cost reduction roughly translates into pure damage. So if you read, the more RCR you get, the better it scales as well. So like it's basically, if you see 10 RCR, it's almost 10% damage. It's not quite. But the more you get of it, the more valuable it becomes, and it's really quite powerful for sure. Like double RCR weapons for me in the future is what I'm going to be going. I'm probably not even using a Zurath. I'm probably going to use like a Barber or like a Gift of Solaria, which has 10 RCR, and I want a 10 RCR pick sticker as well. Both really powerful. Anyway, for gloves, it needs cooldown reduction. Otherwise, these stats are pretty much perfect. And then you're going to use raiment helmet. So we're using the full raiment set. We're not using Ring of Royal Grandeur, as we're using focus and restraint. Obviously on these rings they need to have 8 CDR on them. 8 CDR. I'm not really going to go over rolls, I'm just telling you what you really need. 8 CDR on both your rings is a must-have. And then your belt, Vigilante belt, 8 CDR, really overpowered. You can't go without this. You got to remember the way, if you don't know how cooldown reduction scales, watch my CDR and RCR guide, and you can see that basically you get more value out of CDR the more you get of it. And that's why you might think, oh, why don't I use String of Ears, or why don't I use like Witching Hour or something? Trust me, use the 8 CDR belt. Just do it. Do it. For your braces, Spirit Guards are the obvious choice here. You have to be. This is seasonal only braces. If you're playing non-season, then you could technically swap this up a little bit. You could just change to like Crippling Wave, Tsunami, and then put Ancient Partherian Defenders on. But if you're playing seasonal, then you want Spirit Guards, and the main thing you want on these is 6 crit, 20 cold. As for your necklace, there's a few necklaces that you can use. You don't use cooldown reduction on your necklace. It's not worth it. It's too much of a damage hit, and you're just not going to be able to kill the Rift Guardians that fast. And yeah, so you're gonna want either one of these bad boys, so an Eye of Elich, or another option, the dream in my opinion would be one of these bad boys here. So a Hellfire Amulet. I just haven't found one that's good enough to justify using. And then another option also, which is totally acceptable, is a Mara's Kaleidoscope. The only reason I like Eye of Elich is basically, if you get the goat map, I don't know if you've seen those mob types, it comes in really high density and they provide a lot of progression. It allows you to survive goat spears, and it allows you to survive like pretty bad mob types. But otherwise, in the dream maps, Mara's Kaleidoscope can be really powerful. And obviously for max possible damage, Hellfire Amulet. I'm still crafting these. I'm looking for the perfect one. The dream setup would probably be Hellfire. But yeah, this is what I'm using at the moment. But otherwise, that's the gear. We'll quickly go over the legendary gems I'm using. I'm using Bane of the Trapped. This is pure hardcore like damage. You cannot take this out. This is mandatory. Bane of the Trapped, overpowered. A lot of people always ask me, how do you proc Bane of the Trapped? If you look at the secondary effect, gain an aura that reduces the movement speed of enemies within 15 yards by 30%. Okay, the secondary effect procs the primary effect. Just get that question out of the way there for you guys. And then, Goguk of Swiftness. So it's 15% cooldown reduction and 15% attack speed. And attack speed directly converts into Spirit Regen, and, Spirit Regen is damage. And then the CDR is obviously, what's that? Giving us the ability to have all these cooldowns on cooldown the whole time. So really, really overpowered gem. The only gem which you can potentially switch out is the other gem I'm using right now, and the other gem you can swap it out with, in my opinion. So I'm using Taeguk. This is the complete balls for the wall, pure damage setup, and if you want to push really, really high ranks, you're gonna need the Taeguk for sure. It's insanely annoying. It literally infuriates me. It makes my greater rifting experience a complete struggle, as you the whole time your only spender is dashing strike. The only way you can proc this is dashing strike, and obviously dashing strike costs a tremendous amount of spirit. So maintaining this stupid thing is really, really annoying, and it's gonna make you guys so angry. But once you guys get used to it, you'll be able to master it, and you can actually once you kind of get used to it, you get the survivability from the other gems, and on top of that, you also get a ton of damage. And we don't have that much additive damage with this build. So if you've got like 80 stacks, that's almost it's around like 30-something% damage. But I mean, it could like overall increase. It's really, 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 really powerful. Definitely use Taeguk if you can be bothered using it. If you're lazy and you just want to slack, then use your Mutilation Guard instead. Mutilation Guard is really, really powerful, as it's basically 40% Stone Slinger reduction. So when you finally get the Dream Boss, you can just sit there and you can face tank him, and he can't do any damage to you. And then also within the Rift, it does also reduce certain affixes damage. On top of that, really hard-hitting mobs like chargers, zombies and stuff, that like the red zombies, they'll often hit you, and when they hit you, they can hit like a truck. Like 2 of them hit you at the same time, you're just dead. But with Mutilation Guard, you can survive. That's probably the only other gem. If you really dislike Taeguk, yeah, you could use this, and you're a little bit casual. But otherwise, if you want the maximum potential, if you want to get the maximum range out of this build, I'd say use Taeguk. But otherwise, oh, I forgot about Paragons as well. Paragons, we'll quickly go over Paragons, people always ask this. Cap out your movement speed. I go pure dexterity. You can pick up maximum spirit. It makes the rotation a little bit easier. But I would suggest going pure dexterity, as I'm using Taeguk, which scales directly off dexterity. Dexterity is armor. And on top of that, in the dream scenario, you would never need the maximum spirit. If you can just manage your spirit properly, you don't need it. So you can just use the dexterity. But if you want to make your rotation a little bit easier for yourself, yeah, you can definitely go with that. Then as far as offense goes, you want to max out the cooldown reduction first. Then you want to go crit chance, then crit damage, then attack speed. You can potentially go cooldown reduction and attack speed first, but for maximum damage output, I would just say go crit chance, crit damage. For defensive stats, you want to go aura assist, then you want to go armor percentage, then you want to go life percentage, then you want to go life regen. As for secondary stats, you want to be going resource cost reduction, area damage, life one hit, and then go fun. But otherwise, that is pretty much the guide. Yeah, really, I wish you guys luck with this build. And I'll quickly state again, it's not necessarily better than the Flying Dragon setup. It's just another variation, just slightly more consistent, and you can just, clear rifts more frequently, and then all you really need is one pylon and a decent boss with a little bit of time, and you can get it down. Whereas the Flying Dragon setups, kind of super late game Flying Dragon setups, struggle to clear rifts, as they don't have that much cooldown reduction, so they're not that much, they're not that consistent. But if they do get power channeling, they can global bosses. I've seen power channeling Flying Dragon monks kill bosses in 57 from full health to dead. Not even Stone Slinger. Just completely standard bosses like, Cold Snap and all this crap. They just one-shot the power channeling. You cannot do that with this build, as you don't have that kind of double the attack speed proc. So it's kind of like you lose a bit of range. But otherwise, good luck, boys, with the Dashing Strike Monk. And I'll quickly give a shout out to my guild member, BRBC. I know he's on. This guy right here, he's a bit of a beast. He was the guy who kind of pioneered this build. When I had no faith in it, he kept playing it, and he proved to me that it's basically a really powerful build. So yeah, this guy here, he was pretty much the pioneer of this build. So shout out to BRBC, he's the fucking man. Otherwise, peace out, guys. Remember that I may make a Diablo fans guide, and that might go on the bottom. It's all may and might. I'm not sure if I can be bothered. But otherwise, have a good one. Peace out, and I'll see you on the next video, guys. Or I'll see you at my stream. Peace.